Welcome to Backstage, small church, big vision. Just because you're small doesn't mean you can't have big vision.
If you're a small church leader and you want to have big impact, this podcast is for you. So let's get into it. Uno, dos, tres. Hey everybody, welcome to Backstage, Small Church, Big Vision. I'm Kevin Gollahue.
I'm Andrew Gravagna.
And welcome to our first episode ever. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. We've been talking about it for a little bit. We've been planning hard. Man, it feels rushed. But man, you know, we did this in how long? 2.5 weeks?
Basically. 2
or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So we have great resources from our churches and people who are talented. So we got to thank them for all of that they do. Before we get into it, though, we feel like we should talk a little bit about ourselves. So, you know, Andrew, why don't you get started?
Yeah, man. I mean, growing up, I was a pastor's kid. I was a PK. You know, that's how we call it, right? PK.
Yeah.
And
see, it's funny. People call me PK, Pastor Kevin. So I don't.
That's so funny.
It always confuses me. I'm not gonna lie.
I actually never.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they call me PA also too.
Dude, it's weird.
But no, I grew up a pastor's kid and grew up in the ministry. Never really wanted to do it because I saw a lot of hurt in ministry. But growing up, God really turned my whole life around. God turned my whole situation around. I wanted to be a ball player, and just word from God and took it. And now I'm here in New York. I live in New York. And now I'm pastors here at Connect Church.
Sweet.
Yes, sir.
What do you specifically do at Connect Church?
Well,
I mean, I know you do a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
again,
really.
That's the podcast,
well,
right? Small church.
So I'm a worship leader. I lead worship at the church. I sing, play drums. I basically play almost every instrument.
Yeah, ladies.
Which is a good thing.
Plug. You know. He's a little single too, you know. He does a little bit of everything. He's a pastor. He drums. He sings. Oh my goodness!
I try.
And look at him. All right, sorry.
I try.
I got to put in a plug
Whatever,
for
man.
you. I got to put in a plug for you.
Nah, but listen. Worship leader. Also youth pastor. We started a youth ministry about a year ago. Almost a year and a half ago. Had about 10 kids, grew it to 30. And it's been an amazing experience.
That's crazy. So I met you, in January?
Yeah, I know.
And so that would have been, not even a year. So that would have been just before, like 10 months before a year since you've been back, because you went to college in Texas.
Yeah.
And you came back to be a youth pastor here. So that's crazy. 10 to 30, that's... All you youth ministers out there, oh my gosh, you know that's sort of like a miracle, to be completely honest, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's sweet. That's sweet. Yeah, so I'm Kevin Gollahue. I'm not a pastor's kid. I'm a pastor's grandkid. But my dad been an elder everywhere he's been. My mom has been a ministry leader everywhere she's been. She does amazing stuff. I owe so much of who I am to them.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, oh yeah. When you have your parents able to teach you how to do ministry, I know you know that.
Absolutely.
You know, it's sort of like you start to see patterns. You talk like them, you sound like them.
Yeah.
Sadly, you look like them.
Jesus.
You know, sometimes, but that, you know, it happens. But yeah, you know, so you know, I grew up as a Christian, but you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that you know you are a Christian. You learn. You learn how to read the Bible. You learn how to pray. And sadly, you know, generations of being a Christian, I don't know, I'm 9th, 12th, I don't know, generation Christian, you learn to sort of fake it, you know? And
Absolutely.
So that's what I was doing. I was faking it. You know, I got baptized in 3rd grade. But then I got rebaptized when I actually gave my life to the Lord when I was 16 years old at a mission trip. I heard the voice of God tell me to go into ministry. And from there on out, I made every step possible to do that. I got discipled by my lead pastor. And at the time, he gave me opportunities to preach and to lead worship, which has been amazing. Yeah. But then I started to run away from my call. You know?
Oh.
You do it.
Is that possible?
No, you know, it happens. It's a Jonas situation. You get pulled back, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, and then I got pulled back, and then I got asked to be a worship leader at a church in South Jersey. So I'm from South Jersey, everybody. Ariel, New Jersey. Woohoo! Yeah. And so when I got asked to lead worship, Actually, no. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, it was youth. I was asked to be the youth minister first, the youth director, or whatever they want to call it. It was part of a denomination, so they had to, they had red tape to become a pastor. But it happens. And so I was a youth director or something. I'm not sure what they called it, but we start off with like, oh man, 2-3 kids.
Yeah.
Our first youth event. It was so weird. It was like it was called the Fall Nighter. It was for the denomination. It was a district thing. So I didn't know anybody from the district, and I didn't know these kids. And I was like, let's just go. And so we went, and we had so much fun. And I think the next week we had 8 kids after that. They just invited everybody. And so we grew that. I mean, God placed an amazing team around me. And just through God, we were able to grow that to about 20 to 25 within a year. And then, it started growing from there.
That is good.
But then,
man.
so I was the worship leader too. And I went to Indiana Wesleyan University. Woohoo again. No, but that's great. And so now I got married to the love of my life. And then I was like, I need to go full time. Everything I've done is volunteer. And so now I got married and applied here, and my goodness, I've been enjoying myself.
New York's the best.
Yeah, man. I'm the next gen pastor in Queens. Queens is interesting.
How have you been liking New York?
I've been liking New York. It's okay. It's very similar to South Jersey, whereas when I lived in Pennsylvania, it was slow.
Yeah, it should
Sorry
be,
to
right?
anybody out there living in Pennsylvania.
Same thing with Texas.
Oh, really?
Jesus.
Yeah. It's too
I love
much.
you, Texas, but still.
Yeah, well, the thing is like anywhere past, I don't know,
Bro.
15, 25 minutes away from Philly, deeper, is like rural Pennsylvania, and somehow it sounds like they're in Texas.
Yeah.
They have a slur and everything, but it was
Walk
so
slow.
slow. But it's great being out here.
Cool, man.
But the church has been amazing, and so now I'm the next gen pastor. So if you don't know what that means, typically that means anything from like a baby to high school, but I kind of naturally just fell into the college students as well, sort of thing. And I love them all. We have a solid bunch of kids. So yeah, this church has been amazing, and New York's been amazing, and getting to meet you guys have been really amazing too.
Same. Yeah, dude. So before we get into it, I want to make sure that you guys follow whatever platform you're listening to us on, watching us on. Give us a 5-star rating. It'll help us out a lot. It'll help us out, help you guys. We want to give you guys a lot of material and a lot of production from us and our experiences. So give us a thumbs up, smash that like button, and yeah, man.
It's been interesting. You also have to hit that bell for the notifications. I don't know why they started doing that. Have you noticed that? You used to just press subscribe, and every little thing would come up. Make sure to hit the bell as well, because you need to keep in touch with everything we're doing, because we're aiming to do a lot. And if you're starting off in the beginning, you may be seeing something really cool. So let's get into it a little bit more. So so we're called Backstage. Small Church, Big Vision.
Yes,
So I've had podcasts like this placed on my heart for years now, but I don't feel like I've ever met anybody like you or Maddie, who doesn't want to be on the screen, but like you guys that are talented, and we riff off of one another, and we connect so well that we're actually able to do a podcast. And so I prayed about it, and I was like, maybe I should talk to Andrew and Matt, and then God said, do it. And so I did. And I said, hey dude, we should start a podcast. And so the first thing we talked about, I was like, listen, this is my vision. This is what God I've placed on my heart. I feel like, and maybe if you're a small church leader and you're listening in, maybe you can relate. There isn't that many resources for small churches.
Yeah.
When I was in South Jersey, there wasn't any resources for bivocational. I was volunteer, but I worked so much that it would be another vocation. And there was nothing. There was no resources talking about the benefits of it. There's no resources talking about the negatives of it. And so I've always had this. And there are some out there, don't get me wrong, and I think they do a great job, but we want to be focused primarily on the average church, which
really is
like 80 to 120.
Small church. I mean, with the average and the people that like the statistics shows that we've seen, it really isn't a small church. It actually, like you said, it's the average church.
It's the average size church because, like, you go to the Bible Belt and there's like churches of 300, but then down the street there's churches of 1,500. Where here in the Northeast, and I'm not gonna say New York, I'm gonna say Northeast.
Absolutely.
There's hundreds of churches, and they range from 25 to maybe 100 people in a congregation. And so we want to have a podcast where we talk about a little bit of our experiences, things that we've learned throughout the time, but also we want you to know that we don't know everything.
Yeah.
You can tell we're young. I mean, I've been in ministry for 5 years, and I mean, I've done a lot, I would say, but like, you know, we're on the same journey as you guys. And so we just want to do the intentional research to help out, to help ourselves out, and at the same time help you out, listener. And so we just decided that, why do you have to think small if you're physically small, right? How can we take small resources and create something larger? Sometimes in Jersey, the youth ministry was larger than the congregation Sunday morning. Sunday night was, and that's because I had pastors who poured into me saying, think big. Don't think of where you're at. Yeah. Size-wise, they were like, think bigger, have bigger vision, and you aim for bigger vision, right? You're gonna get something bigger than what you expected, and so that's what we're aiming to talk about, is how we as small church leaders handle the small church situation.
Yeah, and especially, bro, if you look back in the Bible, you just go into this Jesus time, and Jesus had, a lot of large crowds. We're gonna
preach now. Do it. No, I'm about it.
I didn't preach because we're in small churches, right?
Yeah.
We're in the small church or average church, but it could become very lonely, and you forget Jesus' ministry. His 12 disciples, 12 people. That was his ministry. That was the people he was pouring into, the people that he was, sharing life with, sharing his love, sharing his experience, his bad, his, the goods of life, negative and positives. But he had a small ministry in that sense, but he made the biggest impact of all time.
Oh, the biggest impact. Right? You look on the map, it's like, this is how much he's traveled, right?
Yeah, exactly. You could do more than I can do, he said, right?
Oh, yeah. His ministry was, 3.5 years, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a funny, interesting book. I forget the name of the book, but if you look this phrase up, you'll find it. I apologize. But there's a book that actually talks about how it's theorized that Jesus, the 12 disciples, they were actually young. We think of these grown men, right? We think of Peter as this 55-year-old hothead, but he's really
very hothead.
Yeah, he's like 18 years old, 19 years old. Like, Jesus started a youth ministry and grew it. Like, why isn't anybody talking about
literally,
that?
Right?
Why isn't anybody talking about that? Jesus
changed
the
senior
world.
Pastor, he was a youth pastor.
That's right. He was a youth pastor.
Or both. I don't know.
Come on, lead pastors. No, I'm kidding.
No, Joe.
So, no, that's great. But, what's your heart in this,
No, yeah, it's the same thing. I want to make sure that young leaders or small church leaders, pastors, or whatever you're doing, that you guys are not alone. That we can be even an outlet to you guys, where you give prayer requests, you give ask questions, where we can help you out, and certain principles, things that learn from our failures and in our wins.
Yeah, especially like I'm 25. How old are you again?
I'm 22.
22. So that would make you what, like 21, just turning 21 when you started ministry?
Yeah.
Like, right, that's difficult. That's really difficult. I started at about the age of 20, 19, something like that. And man, it's hard when you're young and you make stupid mistakes. Stupid mistakes. Things I look back and I'm like, I fought people like that was the right decision to make. Yeah. And I literally would get frustrated. Like, why would you say that's the wrong thing? And I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh. That was the wrong thing, right? So so if you're even if you're just a young youth pastor or a youth leader who feels called into ministry, this podcast is for you.
Yeah,
Any
absolutely.
small church leader, this podcast is for you. We're going to aim to speak about when we talk about our experiences, our what's the word? Our expertise, I guess would be the term. Like, we don't want to overreach. We're not lead pastors. And so we're going to aim to have different like people to interview so that you guys can get more than just our perspective, because we realize, you know, we don't know everything. If we're the cap, this podcast is going to be small. If we're the cap, then nothing's going to change for you listeners out there. So we're going to aim to help you guys out. And again, we're on the same journey. So when we bring people to interview in, you're getting helped out.
We're getting helped out too. Absolutely.
So are we. But yeah, so we're going to talk about a lot of things that we, you know, struggle with in the past and how we've grown from it. Yeah. Oh man, you have to turn them into learning opportunities. But every single week we want to talk about, every podcast, we want to have a section where we talk about this past ministries week, like, because again, if we talk about all the big stuff like, how to obtain volunteers, how to assimilate them to become really, really dedicated youth leaders or AV volunteers, then, you know, that's great. But we need to talk about the nitty gritty stuff that isn't being talked about on podcasts. And that's where our heart's at. So every week we want to talk about the victories that we had. But you know, again, small churches, we're going to talk about the learning opportunities we had, right? And so why don't you talk about that? What are some wins and learning opportunities you've had this past week?
Let me start with I can start with a win. Last week, my dad got sick. Basically, last minute on a Saturday, right before church. I'm leading worship. I'm doing youth group. I'm getting prepared, getting ready. And all of a sudden, my dad goes, "Listen, I'm sick. You on deck." Shoot, man. Heart racing. I got to find something. Good thing, you know, really, I felt like it was a God moment because I was really studying on, it wasn't really on the message series that I was studying on, but it kind of tied to it. And, you know, God put a message on my heart, went up, did worship.
That's so good.
Preached. You know, we had 2 services at 9:11 a.m. And dude, I don't even understand how my voice didn't go out.
I've been there.
And I was singing some high songs, right?
Yeah.
We were doing 2 services.
Oh
and
my
I'm like,
goodness,
wait.
I've been there.
I'm like, my voice not even that grudgy.
It's difficult.
And you know,
it sounded more manly, right? By the end of it, like,
that's good. That's good. Oh, but you know, people really received. Everyone was complimenting me, and I was, you know, it's nice to get a little pat on your back. You know, we do it for Jesus, but it's nice to get a little pat on your back, and really, it just gave me the same like mentality of, that's why you gotta spend time with God. That's why you gotta make sure that you have substance
in and out of season.
Yeah, and it was definitely a win. You know, it was definitely
good.
a win. It's definitely a cool experience that, you know, I was set in Bible college and Christ for the Nations I went to, by the way. You know, those moments are gonna happen. You gotta be ready.
Yeah,
and I was.
Yeah. Oh man, I've been there. That's never fun. But I tell you what, though, he did a good job. He did a fine job. You know, I watched the sermon. I was praying for him because that's never easy.
He was. As soon as he found out, he called me.
I called him. I was like,
my
dude,
condolences, man. Basically, it was like I was gonna die. I'm like, dude,
my gosh. Listen, if you've been in that situation, you know. Hey, I tell you what, though. You had a Saturday. That's good. Some of you guys have had to. Your pastor calls you up Sunday morning, like, "Oh my gosh, like, I'm so sick, I can't come in," and you're like, "Huh." Yeah, you're like, "Oh, what do I do? Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. So last thing I read was not the Bible, so now I got to figure, like, you know, sometimes like that." And that's what you're saying, like, be prepared in and out of season, because when you read, you already in communion with God and the Holy Spirit, so that when you're asked to speak, you can just speak.
That's it.
You know,
that's good, bro.
You have any learning opportunities?
I have learning opportunities every day, man. But specifically, I don't know, man.
You don't know?
I don't know this time.
I'll give a couple victories, and then
I can definitely
if you
come
think
back
of something. You know, there's always learning opportunities. We just got to seek them out.
You know, it
sometimes.
is so much that I can't. Man.
Yeah. No, I get it. So this past week has been really cool. We, as you know, we don't really have like a steady youth ministry quite yet. You know, when I started here, youth ministry wasn't the same thing I thought it was. when I was in South Jersey, or when I helped out in Pennsylvania, or all the other youth pastors that I've had conversations with and talked to, and I've even gave some resources and offered some tips and things to do, things not to do for youth ministries starting up. And so, like, all of these youth ministries have one thing in common. You ready? They meet weekly, and they have a lesson, worship, games, potentially snacks, right? And so when I got here, I thought, here we go. I'm starting up a youth ministry.
Yeah.
So let's just do it again. Nope. It was different here. It was different here. It really was. And I tell you what, it was a little bit of a struggle at first. And then, COVID hit, and then we started doing, of course, I'm the children's pastor as well. So we started doing the Bridge Kids videos, and then I turned that into the youth ministry weekly thing, because we would get together and create these awesome videos. And, it was mainly teens and some college students. And so, I aim to do that weekly. So, but to bring it back to the victory, we had, this past Sunday, we had a homework burn. I don't know if you guys out there have done those. You may call it something else.
I haven't, though. I saw that on your story. That's pretty interesting.
Did you see that? Did you watch that video that guy made?
I didn't.
No,
I think I watched your
There's a video. Okay, yeah. So there's a. Oh, no. You need to go on my Instagram and see it.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, you do. Speaking of Instagram, make sure you follow us on social media, by the way.
Plug.
Backstage Leaders. Make sure you follow us. We got a lot of stuff coming out. But we had, I don't know, I want to say including the college students, which, most of you guys say youth goes up to 18, and I usually do too, but there's a little bit of wiggle room in this culture. And so I would say there's about 20 people that were there, and it was pretty sweet. So we went to this one of the board members' houses. We went to, he doesn't have multiple houses. I'm in house.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know why I said that. We played pool. We played basketball, we ate pizza, and then we did this homework burn. And so usually when I've done it in the past with youth ministries, it's all about it's all about just let's burn stuff. But this year it's like COVID's been terrible we've had 3 or 4 teenagers and college students that couldn't have a graduation, that can't have that natural turning of the season. And so it's been a dramatic season. So I turned it into a lesson of let's just burn this homework from 2020, which I'm surprised I even had paper, because it was all online.
I took them out right away.
Yeah. Well, not even that, because it was online half the time.
Took your iPad.
Yeah. And so so that was a victory. We had a lot of things where we wanted to just burn it to signify the season is ending, and we know for a fact that God has something on the other side. As far as learning opportunities, I don't think I have anything. I think I was on the ball this week, to be completely honest. Yeah. And I'm happy about it. And it sounds
No, same with me.
Kind of sounds like you're on the ball too. So
we'll definitely have them. I can tell you, they'll be easy to come by.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's been a tough time during this year.
Now, before we end, there is something we want to do every single week. It's silly, but we want our own thing, right?
Yeah.
We just want to ask each other a random funny question, but we have to answer truthfully. Okay?
All right.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Do you have a question?
Do you got a good question? Because I might not say my question.
I may have a good one.
All right, go ahead.
Maybe not. Okay. If you could hug any Avenger, who would it be and why?
Oh my gosh, that was a really good one.
Yeah, because it's so random.
Shoot.
Yeah. A lot of factors into.
You gotta put Captain America.
Captain America, fair enough.
He's the best.
I like that.
He's so nice.
So
I think he would just. I don't know.
Yeah, I could get that.
That's a weird
extra
question.
coverage with the shield. Me, I'm not gonna lie.
Don't do it.
No. Have you ever wanted to feel Incredible Hulk's biceps?
I know,
I know that's weird.
I know, no.
That's weird.
I know.
I get that's weird.
I heard that.
And I want to hug him, and I want to see if I can wrap him. Right? I don't think I can, but I would love to. Yeah. So I would hug the Incredible Hulk, and that's kind of why. I guarantee you, my wife's gonna think that's really weird, and
Weird.
So is my family, but I'm okay with wanting to hug the Incredible Hulk because of his
all good.
ginormously green
That's all good. You used to be weird.
biceps. I'm weird. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna own it. That's who I am. I'm Kevin. I'm weird.
Yeah, do you?
But this comes to the conclusion of our first episode, man. Oh my goodness, it's been a lot of fun. But make sure that you follow us on whatever platform you're listening on. Follow us on social media. Smash the subscribe button on YouTube, and make sure you hit the bell next to it so you can get notifications. All right. We'll see you guys next week.